Hello, Yes But Why listeners. This is your host, Amy Jordan. Welcome to episode 224, my interview with comedian Melissa G. McKnight. But first, let's hear about the sponsors. This episode of Yes But Why podcast is sponsored by Audible. You can get your free audiobook download and your 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/yesbutwhy. Our guest this week, Melissa G. McKnight, was talking to me about motherhood. Let's see what Audible says about motherhood. Oh boy, I think I broke the internet. So many titles. No end to advice for mothers out there. Thank God most of these books look well-meaning. Audible is available for your iPhone, Android, or Kindle. Download your free audiobook today at audibletrial.com/yesbutwhy. This episode of Yes But Why is also sponsored by podcastcadet.com. Swing on by podcastcadet.com to get help for all your podcasting needs. From writing to producing to hosting, Podcast Cadet can help you improve your podcast. Go to podcastcadet.com and put in offer code YBY20 to get 20% off your first consultation. This week on Yes But Why, I talked to Nashville-based stand-up comedian and writer Melissa G. McKnight. Melissa and I had a great time talking. We talk about singing and performing stand-up and how fun they are. And Melissa tells me about a writing project that she's excited about. This interview goes all over the place, but we had so much fun in it. I hope you enjoy Yes But Why episode 224. Melissa G. McKnight is a funny and poignant storyteller. I'm Amy Jordan, and this is Yes But Why podcast. Yeah. What was the first experience of performing that you had that made you really think, this is for me. I want to do this?
Oh, I think I was 27 years old. I had just graduated from the University of Oklahoma, and I was on tour with Chrome Pony, the now defunct electro-pop band that I was in for 2 years after college. And I performed at the Norman Music Festival because the University of Oklahoma was in Norman, Oklahoma. And it was the first time in my life outside of like a school chorus performance that I picked what I wanted to wear and styled my hair and wore accessories, like a whole ensemble. And, and I just had a lot of fun. Granted, the sound, the electricity actually went off during the performance. Oh. And also at some point, both guitarists were just not playing in sync with each other at all. But my part of the show, I executed perfectly. And I felt really alive just being there and taking it all in because my friends and I would go dancing on the weekends during college. And that's where my bandmate, Steven, saw me. And he was like, "You're a really great dancer. I need a backup vocalist and a dancer, to make my show less boring." He was like, "Are you interested?" And I was like, yes, check this off of the bucket list. Yes. And unfortunately, he didn't really like to rehearse very much. But, the farthest we went, we performed at South by Southwest in 2012.
Wow.
And that was the last time I've been to Austin. So I need to, get another gig and go back.
Yeah. See if you can find a different pony and,
You're right.
And make it work. Yeah. This can be a better, more rehearsed pony. Who knows? Maybe you can be in the front this time.
Yes. Essentially my experience with that band reiterated that I did want full creative control. And so
You're
So
like, okay, listen.
And so then the next venture that I found was singing in an a cappella women's group, a Sweet Adeline's group even, by the name of Talk of Tulsa. And my mom was also in this chorus.
Oh.
So my mom and I can sing really well together, like duets and stuff. Anyway, it was really fun. We won the first competition that we ever tried, and we competed in Dallas, Texas, and Honolulu, Hawaii.
Ooh. I have been looking for a good performance reason to go to Hawaii my whole life. Oh my goodness, I love that. So
yeah, if you're into a cappella singing, the Sweet Adelines are active in the Midwest.
Wow. But
again, Sweet Adelines, I didn't have enough power. I wasn't getting to pick the songs that we were singing. Like, the songbook was from like 1920 or earlier. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah. I also had to leave the Sweet Adelines behind. And then I was living in Tulsa, just working in a, like, I guess it was a government call center, like for the mayor's hotline. And at night, I decided I wanted to take a stand-up comedy class because I really wanted to experience the freedom of saying something that I wrote for myself on stage. And I took the stand-up comedy class, and I had such a good time at the little club that I think it still exists. Maybe it's been 4 years. It's kind of hard to tell. There's been a lot of change up in downtown Tulsa, but
especially these days.
Yes. And anyway, and then I took a stand-up comedy class at that comedy club, and then I also took 2 improv classes there, and I had so much fun, and I forgot about all the bad experiences I had with improv in high school and college, and I've been doing comedy ever since. Hooray!
I like how you're the lens through which you look at your move towards stand-up was about like being able to have your own voice out there. I feel like when people are, creative, a lot of times that can be the hardest part, is to acknowledge that they have something to say. That's really great that you knew that you had something to say and had the ability to do it. How did it go? Like, did you start out the gate with like, let me tell you what I think? Or were you like, or was it like a lot of, let me see if I can't tell some good basic jokes, hairline freedom, right? Or whatever. How'd it go?
I went straight for the throat. Like, good. I really did. Here are some of my favorite comedians. I love Adam Sandler. I love Trevor Noah. I love Leslie Jones. I love, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Gene Wilder, but I don't know if he yes, he does count. Of course, he's a classic. So also, I have to mention like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. Like, I love... And also, okay, fine, Groucho Marx as well. So I love Lucy. Sorry, Lucille Ball is her actual name, everyone. So like 5-year-old me just came out. I love Lucy.
That's okay. I Love Lucy, a solid example of good comedy structure. I actually use a clip from it to teach, increase, like heightening when I'm teaching sketch comedy.
Yes. So I definitely like vaudeville. American vaudeville is definitely a big part of my comedic influence. And again, from some of the comedians that I listed, I also really enjoy the jokes where it's like, that was sharp. Oh my gosh. Did you really just say that?
Yeah.
So I just tried. I wasn't like everything else that I did in my life. I was afraid, but I just like did it afraid. And I just said what I wanted to. Luckily for me, in my class, there was like a sort of alcoholic, like douchebag, for lack of a better, vocabulary. Sorry, Mom. But he was just like saying really inflammatory things about his ex-wife and he was making his personal problems into jokes and making everyone uncomfortable.
Right.
And then, like, after the class, the woman that who's now a city council person in Tulsa, we were having margaritas after our first comedy class, and he came in and was like yelling at me about something. I held him accountable for saying something about slavery. And I was just like, says the person who was never considered like 3/5 of a human being. And he was like, it was 5/3, get it right. And he like came up to us after the class while we were having margaritas and was like 5/3. And I was just like, oh my God. And I ripped him a new one. I was just like, how dare you like approach me this way? I wasn't even talking to you. I'm just trying to enjoy my drinks. Like, you know, kick rocks basically.
Yeah.
And so when it came time to actually write my actual monologue that we performed at the end of our class, I integrated like that experience into my stand-up. And to the point that like, my white male improv teacher was just like, hey, I just feel like you should just like go easy on like the white guy jokes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, really? Because you told me that if you find an in with comedy, you know, take it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just been really fun.
I'm glad that you like took advantage of the scenario. I mean, like, you know, like I said, a lot of times when you start, you want to say stuff, but then you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. So I'm glad that, you know, you were ignited by this terrible douchebag, as it were. Sorry, Mom. And you know, let yourself allowed yourself the ability to say what you want to say. I feel like even before, we were talking earlier about the idea that like now we're, you know, getting to be in a society that could be more open to that kind of thing. But I really think like, you know, you need to be strong and say the strong things, and like that it's an acceptable thing to say. And for a while it might be where people are like, I don't like that. And you're like, well, I don't like a lot of things.
Right.
You know?
I don't like being the only Black girl at every comedy thing that I go to. Huh? How about that?
Oklahoma's got to be rough. Wait, you're in Nashville now, right?
Or I'm in Nashville. It's still like that here in Nashville.
Yeah, sure. I'm surprised they have stand-up, or is it just like the opening of a country music venue?
No, we have pre-corona, we had a pretty vibrant comedy scene.
Great.
I even got to the point where I was getting paid regularly to be a part of shows, like just from ticket sales alone. But again, corona has essentially dried it all up. So
yeah. For right now, I think it'll be.
For right now,
I think it'll be exciting in the future. I have high hopes, and all I can say is stick with it and keep writing now, because as soon as those doors are ready to be open, you're gonna get right up on that stage, and it's like, guys, 2021, best year ever. Am I right? Like, yeah.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we're going to have so many parties. Oh, I can't tell you. Every tiny holiday we could possibly celebrate in 2021 is going to be like fireworks and explosions and hugs.
Come over.
Just hug.
Oh,
let's just have.
hugs.
Do you want to share? Oh. Let's Lady and the Tramp this spaghetti right now. Kiss you right in the mouth.
Right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Is it just me, or, you know, now that we're in the Rona life, when I'm watching movies and I see characters hug their mother, it makes me cry every time. Because I'm just like, I want to hug my mom. And like, she only lives 3 hours away, but she's also almost 70.
Yeah.
So she's just being safe. I'm just kidding. She's literally on vacation in Seaside, Florida right now.
I understand. My mother's the same. She's like, it's fine. I just went to Verizon store and got a new phone. I'm like, no, why are you talking to people? Get home.
Like, is this a game to you? Do you think this is a game?
Yeah, I don't know. And then I'm like, do I have stay-at-home privilege? Is that what's happening right now? Am I just like, it's fine, sit at your home and do nothing? And they're like, that's your life, not my life.
Yes.
Oh
my gosh.
Like, I don't understand.
The cancer, and she has said those exact words to me. She's like, you're the type who likes to stay at home, but I'm not.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, man.
It's fine.
Yeah.
High five.
It's okay. We're going to be okay. And in the future, tons of people are going to be excited to watch comedy in Nashville. It's going to be great. I saw a few of the videos that you had on your YouTube. So they do have some venues. I was sort of joking that I thought it was just country music. I get it. I know. I think I've even talked to people in the improv scene. So like, I know that there's a scene. But like for you, like how long have you been in Nashville? You start the band that you were in was in Oklahoma, and
yes.
you know, then you were like, I'm not going to be in the back, and then you're like, I'm going to sing. I don't even need instruments. That's how much I want you to notice. And then more, you're like, but they're not looking at me enough. Let's get on stage by myself and say whatever I want to say. I'm into it. I think that they're very much two different, like, it's almost like introvert, extrovert, right? Like, it's like some people want to be alone. Like, they're like, I don't need you to help me. I will say my jokes, you know, whereas when I teach improv, I'm usually teaching the other half of people who are like, do I have to talk by myself? I'm like, no, never, never. This is the game. The game is we're a team together forever, taking care of each other. You're safe now, right? So that's my game. But you know, it's not everybody's.
How do you feel about here in the Nashville scene? There's definitely a sort of a dichotomous vibe of you're either improv or stand up. And I hate that because I do both and they're fun. But how do you feel?
How do I feel personally?
About like, do you think that there's some validity to it? You're either improv or stand up?
I don't know that I would say that people's talent is one or the other. I think sometimes people limit themselves one way or the other in any way. Like people believe oftentimes they will believe they can only be good at one or the other, that they are the opposite sort of skills. It's the same effort, right? But it's a different skill set. One's the alone, one's the together. And the people who are alone like to pretend and think that that means they're like stronger and better and like they don't need other people. But I feel like both sides have need for validation and, you know, they're the same, I think. Yeah. It's just the way you want to express yourself. And also personally, especially when it comes to, because then, so I'm in worlds where there's also the third hybrid storytelling who doesn't get any respect. Storytelling don't get nothing. They get the damn moth and so much respect from the highfalutins, but they don't get no respect from the improv or stand-up. They're like, what are those people doing? And you're like, they're doing exactly what you're doing. You know what I mean?
I literally host the Moth Story Slam in Nashville. That's so funny.
It's like, but it's like important, and it's like a specific skill that's not even just related to performing in a comedy sense. It's also just like a life skill, right? It's like, go and do the Moth and then you could get a TED Talk. These things are similar, like, you know, as opposed to, you know, but the stand up and the improv worlds are all like, I don't know what that is. What are they doing? They're doing what you're doing, except for instead of groups telling a story or individuals telling a story, it's a person who's gone through, like, it's like, there are so many stand-ups, for instance, that weave that thing. Like you're talking about Hannah Gadsby earlier. I totally think of her that way. I think of like Mike Birbiglia that way. Yes. They have like a big story they're telling, and then they put teeny little stories all the way through, right? And that's their style. It's the beginning to the end. The beginning of the story to the end of the story is the full hour long, but then the itty bitty little jokes in between are the stand up, right? But that's what storytelling is. That's how you keep it going and developing it. And I think personally, that for me is the best. You know, I think that's so great. I think so too. But it's also storytellers acknowledge the audience in a way that stand up does not. in the same way that improv does. So I see the storytelling as sort of the central of the Venn diagram of stand-up and improv. Even though you're still alone when you're a storyteller, but you're not, because you're like, hey guys, did you hear about this thing that happened? And then everyone in the room is in your scene, except for you're the one talking in the scene, right? But
also my producer is usually with me too, so that's awesome. But what I was going to say, what I like about storytelling is that, you know, before books, there was an oral tradition, and a storyteller had such an important role in a community. And I'm not saying that we're going to lose books again. Like, I don't want to live in that world at all, for the record. But like, storytelling is important in the sense, like, if there's a child around and you know, your iPad's dead and, you know, you're trying to entertain them, storytelling is infinitely, you know, important in a scenario like that. So I really like storytelling is really like an old school life skill.
Storytelling is also the way to communicate to people things that they don't want to hear. Like, if you can give somebody a story about a person who's doing a thing, you can give them the double whammy of like, and that's why you shouldn't be a racist. Like, right at the end, and you're like, wait. Oh, I get it now. You know what I mean? Like there's different ways that you're able to, and it doesn't even have to be as intense as that necessarily. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's how we teach everything. That's how, if you look back at like sort of like German folk tales or whatever, they're all horrifying, but then you're like, oh, but they told that so the kid wouldn't keep doing whatever he's doing or whatever.
Yes.
And you're like, I guess that's how you do that.
Yes.
But
I also read recently that the Inuit culture does the same. They will come up with a story that will scare the child. Like, they'll be like, if you hit mom, it won't feel good and she might die. And they'll be like, you don't want your mom to die, do you? And the kid will be like, no. And they'll be like, well, then don't hit.
Yeah, man. Stuff like that seems super cruel. Turns out, apparently, it's not. Yeah, I've read a few of those things. I was also watching this is a weird rabbit hole, and like neuroscience brain, like how your brain works, and your brain, like so many different things where you're like, you think your brain works like this. It doesn't. This is a thing that you should do instead. And I was like, what? You know, so the way we process stuff, the way we receive information, even though, for me, telling a child that a monster is attacking me so they don't hit me, you know, might not be great. Maybe I have to do it. But like it tells a strong story. It puts an image out there, creates an emotion that is the emotion you want them to feel. Right. And that's what you're doing with storytelling. You're like, I want to get them feeling so bad about this thing. Oh my God, I can't believe, but Larry, poor Larry. And then you're like, turns out Larry was this guy. Now what? You know, like whatever story you're telling or whatever point you're trying to make, you know, like making people feel one thing and changing it on them. Or, you know, the other thing that I think about is the way we put stories together, you know, like I was just watching the Patton Oswalt, new hour on Netflix, and he was talking about how he was telling a story about a person. He was saying that like the Bible's probably like Jesus is probably multiple people, because like when he's telling a story about like a crazy dude in his high school, he uses one name, but there really were like 10 guys, but he just says the one name because it's easier to tell a story about all the crazy things Johnny did versus like Johnny did this and Teddy did this and this guy. It's like one story. And he's like, I've also kind of forgotten which one of them did anything, and now it's my story and not theirs. And that's the other thing too, is it's like, if you can find a way to tell yourself a story, even to reframe something in your head or to help you get past something where you're like, I did this for this reason and that's okay. And I'm going to move forward, you know, that kind of stuff we tell ourselves.
Basically how I deal with my childhood.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, if we can try to separate ourselves and process the story of our own lives in a larger, wider sense, I think it can help.
I think so too. Or that's what I'm hoping for. I'm just hoping that the longer I live, it will hurt less and less. And eventually it will just be a story of how I overcame something, you know?
Yeah. I also wonder how many things that we have, like the trauma that you've been through led you to learn lessons and be a certain person so that people can see you being that strong person and be inspired by you in this moment. Right? Like that it's like you experienced it so that hopefully Susie, who's watching you on YouTube, doesn't have to, because now you're like, hey, watch out for this crazy shit. And she's like, oh, I didn't know I had to watch out for that crazy shit. But now she's gonna, because you told her. And, and you seem like a strong person that should be listened to, kind of thing.
Well, I certainly hope Lil Susie will listen, because, well, that's the other thing, though. When I was growing up, I mean, my parents were pretty great parents. I mean, okay, fine. You know, the emotional intelligence that I have, you know, after studying like human relations, like a bunch of social sciences classes, but I don't blame them. I blame the baby boomers in general for that. Anyway, and what I'm saying is, it's just, I don't lose any sleep at night over what happened to me anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I plan to record what happened, just like you said, so that it can be potentially a cautionary tale for someone else. And so that's one aspect of what I want to achieve with my work. But I also do just want to be like a great entertainer, like all the people that I listed previously. So like, if I could get a fraction of the expression that Lucille Ball shared on television, I'll definitely be able to die happy, you know? So I'm looking to have as much fun as I can, but also to like be real about the stuff that matters, like standing up for people that need help, obviously. But like, I definitely want to have some fun. And there are some deep belly laughs in my future, right? And all of our futures. Come on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For sure. Especially when you're a person who's working towards putting laughter in the world, right? That's not to say that there haven't been plenty of sad comedians along the way.
Oh, yes.
We all have our handful of like, oh, that guy. But at the same time, I know it was the exact same person. I was thinking, you're so funny. But at the same time, you know, there has to be some solace when you see the joy that other people get, when other people, you know, even just earlier we were talking about a Good Will Hunting. I mean, like, that was such a random, ridiculous, but even if you think about that in the sense that it was like, those were two high school friends who wrote a thing.
Yes.
Right? Just trying to create something. Who knows what it is? I'm sure the two of them who wrote Good Will Hunting weren't like, you know what I really want to do? I want to make like a statement about like the way people are treating. And
right.
No, they just wrote a story and tried to make it happen. And then now they can use the clout that they have to do things like, I think Matt Damon's like saving water. You know, that's great. And find a way to put that out there. But even just like you were saying, like, you want to be a great entertainer. Tell me what kind of projects are you, it doesn't even have to, you don't have to, you know, no spoilers or anything, but like, you know, are you writing screenplays for there to be new characters for you to play? Are you like creating a one-woman show just to sort of, again, create another discussion about like stand-up versus improv versus storytelling versus one-woman shows?
I am currently writing I guess it's just a story for story's sake. I want to adapt it to a stage play. So the story is very close to being completed. I would say it's a speculative sci-fi plot, just because or I guess magical realism is what I would use to describe it if it were a literary piece, but it's not. So I'll stick with speculative sci-fi. And basically, Okay, I have to preface this by saying in my own life, when I had my menarche menstruation, it was like, it went away when I got it at 13, then it went away because I didn't weigh enough. And then it came back with like a gut punch at 14. And from like 14 to 19, every few months or so, I would vomit with my menstrual cramps. And it was just like a really painful time. So like, I'm writing this story. Stay with me here. Future me is celebrating her daughter's first menstruation. And she's like, I'm going to tell you about your secret powers. And the kid's like, what are you talking about? And then the whole story, that's the frame. And then the whole story is me, like when I was like 27, I guess. Me at around 30 would be more accurate. And it's just showing like a day in the life of when I had like a shitty job that I hated and I was like super disgruntled and I just wanted to go dancing every weekend. And essentially, when this character is on her period, she has psychic powers that can move the victim from one dimension to another, but they just sort of explode into confetti in this dimension. And it's a whole thing. and okay. So I've been developing the story for almost a decade. And when you were saying earlier that when you write a story, even if you have some virtue or moral that you're trying to tell, that's not good enough for a story. Because if you want to capture someone's heart and their mind, you have to set the scene and make a context and really give the character like a life. And so I'm pretty close to finishing. I'm going to apply for a Master of Fine Arts, whenever those terms for 2021 are announced, of course. And my mom went to Brown in the 70s, and she's encouraging me to apply to Brown.
Wait, you cut out. Your mom went where in the 70s?
Oh, my mom went to Brown in Rhode Island.
Oh.
And she's encouraging me to apply. So I feel very intimidated, and it's really intimidating to even say it out loud. But yeah, I'm going to apply to Brown and I'm going to apply to Yale and I'm going to see what happens.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, Yale's pretty intense.
Yes, I've heard that it's really intense. But here's the kicker. Yeah. They'll pay for everything for 3 years. But the catch is you have to write an original play. So how about that?
So you're going to use this one to be your original play, or you're going to write a new one when you get there?
Oh, there's another one in the works. This one, it's much easier to describe.
I was like, you don't have to give it away if you don't want. I don't want to take away from your thesis.
The title will just tell you what it's about. Okay, a suicide pact. But it's a comedy.
You want to think that it gives you a lot, but these days you're like, this could be about anything. This could literally be about. This is it's the third chapter of Babysitter's Club, isn't it? Yep, I knew it.
Okay, well,
you're gonna get edgy.
This way. It's gonna be like two friends, and I'm kind of, remember that movie War of the Roses in the 90s?
Uh-huh.
I want it to have like a War of the Roses feel. Do you know, like a War of the Roses buddy comedy called Suicide Pact? Yeah, I'm working on that
one. Great.
Oh, man.
Great.
Anyway.
Oh man, your thing makes me think of like a movie though. Your magical realism story makes me think of a movie that you just go pitch it to Seth Rogen. That's who's gonna make that. like have you watched the show Future Man?
I haven't seen Future Man yet. Which platform is it on?
Hulu.
Okay. Future Man, I'll write that down.
It's a good one. He made it, and it has, I would say for guys, there is darkness in it similar to a story about magical menstruation. Like, there's definitely... Where, like, when you said that, I was like, yeah, Seth Rogen would make that. That's who's got the cash for that, for sure.
So
like,
funny.
He's the guy. But
got it written down.
I was like, seriously, find out where he's dying to make this movie immediately. Oh, man. Oh, you're
I
funny.
really have a secret motive for it also. My niece is she's 8 now, and I know she's gonna her period's gonna come eventually, and I'm not saying my older sister will even allow her to read my play, and probably until she's an adult maybe, but but I'm kind of thinking of her and like what I'm gonna tell the young people in my life when they start menstruating, because my mom told me when I started that I was a woman now, and do you know what I mean? Like, I know where she was coming from with that, but like, when I associate it with my being a woman, it's like I associated being a woman with something negative. Do you know what I'm saying? Kind of like
I do. That being said, by that definition, she wasn't wrong.
Yes. And it was just so hard to, it was like a sucker punch. Like, I was like, damn, like, oh, so what are you going to tell your daughter? Like,
I don't have a daughter, thank God.
Oh, right.
I have a son, so I'm not going to tell him anything. He won't find out about it until he's dating. No, just kidding. No, I'm sure there'll be plenty of instances where it'll appear in his life. But yeah, I mean, I would go straight biology, I guess, but I like the magical stuff. I think there's something fun about that, if only just because so many of us have hoped that it would lead to something with
Yes.
with like real. Where you're like, God, what is this? And like to the point where one of the other interesting sort of underscores of that particular thing is that not only is it like menstruation is something that not only do we not understand as a culture across the board what's going on, but we don't know how to even talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Individually and as a group, right?
It's taboo for sure.
More than half of the people are dealing with it, right?
Right.
So it's
but
like, why do we
about
not talk about this thing, right? Like, I can watch 27 Viagra commercials, but when the girl comes on and pours like a half gallon of liquid into the pad, I'm like, turn it off. I can't do it. Like,
right.
Even though I'm like, wait, before we turn it off, can you what's the name of it? Okay, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, ugh.
It also happens to be, the origin of all human life on Earth.
Right? Can I just tell you that, like, the door, when I had a child, the door was open to me into the, like, mom groups of Facebook. And in the mom groups of Facebook, there can be terrible things, but there can also be really frank discussions about biology that I enjoy. Like when people are discussing, well, because there'll be like a new mom, like people before, don't join it. If you have a child, do not join the Facebook mom groups until after you have the child. If you go there early, it's like peeking through the curtain and being like, what? What's that? Like, it's not, you don't want to know.
I'm already so scared of birth trauma.
No. It's fine. It's not a big deal. No, having a baby is the same as human life, meaning if you make a big deal out about it, it'll be a big deal. But if you just try to go with the flow, it'll be fine. It's fine.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you exercise during your pregnancy?
Oh, I forget. You've never seen me. No, I don't exercise very often ever. And I didn't exercise that much. I mean, that being said, I probably exercised more during my pregnancy than any other time in my life.
Nice.
But that's only because our car broke down. And so I had to take the bus everywhere for a long time during my pregnancy.
Nice.
And so I ended up walking tons and tons and tons of miles all the time because I worked, like I said, temp jobs, and temp jobs don't pick their locations to be near bus stops. So I would get off a bus and walk 6 blocks to some office and do whatever. But yeah, during that time I did lots and lots and lots and lots of walking, but I didn't think about it. And it wasn't like I'm exercising. You know what I mean?
Did you ever reach a time in your pregnancy where the doctor was like, you should just stay in bed and you shouldn't move?
No. No,
Okay,
though that
cool,
being
cool.
said, I'm 42 and my baby's 3, so I was 39. So they already looked at me like I'm crazy. And like I said, you've never seen me, so you don't know. I'm a large lady. I'm a plus-sized woman. So they were also like, "Oh my God, are you all right?" And I was like, "I'm fine." So like those two factors meant that I had to have a secondary doctor who would like check me out. But turned out, don't tell anybody. The secondary doctor was better. The secondary doctor gave me better care than my first doctor.
Nice.
My first doctor would be like, "What? You're all right." And they'd put like a Korean War era microphone to my stomach and be like, "Do you hear that? Yeah, do you hear that?" And I was like, what's happening? I'd go to this other place and it was like a fancy soft music and playing in the lobby. They were like, "Would you like some herbal tea?" And you're like, "Yeah, I would." And then you go into a room that's like low lighting, and then like a sweet gal comes in and is all like, "Let's do a 3D sonogram of the inside of your body and look at your new child's bones." And you're like, "I'd love that." And like, so having a baby and them, the first idea of them treating me weird, I was like, "Oh no." But then I was like, turns out they're super nervous about me. So they're going to take care of me like they're super scared. Anything could happen. And they'd be like, "Please sit down in this soft chair." And I was like, "Yeah, all right. I'll take it. Give me that soft chair." Like, "Is there any, would you like some water?" "Yeah, I'll have some water. I'm parched. Get it in here." Like, oh yeah. And the doctor came in and he'd like hold my hand and look at me and be like, "We're so excited for you." And I was like, "Yeah, you are." Like, it was just like, the way that I was able to transition, perhaps just my mind, maybe everyone was equally crazy all the way through, but like having this secondary doctor, it seemed luxurious versus a problem. They wanted to take extra care of me because they were all like, "Check out the fat oldie. She's going to die." And I didn't. I'm very healthy.
Well, I have to say,
always worked out.
I'm going to be 35 in a few weeks, and your story is like giving me so much hope because like I'm going to put it off as long as possible.
Sure.
And I like just hearing stories of women that are older moms, and I just had a doctor's appointment last week, so I got the talk about being an older mom or geriatric pregnancy, I think was the most,
that's what they call it. Yeah.
Insulting way I've ever heard it put. But like, you're just giving me so much hope, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
Oh yeah. Well, plus the other thing was, I was so nervous about like having the child, like it emerging from my loins, as it were. But he is perfect from beginning to end. And what he did was he just sat up and waited. And they were like, "Your baby can't come out feet first, so we're going to have to do a scheduled C-section." And I was like, "That's right, boy. Make it easy and quick for mama. Thank you." So it was a lovely morning. We had a schedule. He appeared on schedule. He was like, "Hello, I'm here on time." And we were like, "Excellent." And then and then that was it, you know? Like other people are like 47 hours, crazy times. I'm all like, nope. That being said, I was like kind of looking forward to that, but glad I skipped it. Right?
Gotcha.
I was like mentally preparing myself for like, you know how like when you know you're going to have, like now, for instance, when you know you're going to have like a quote formative experience and you have to really try super hard to soak as many lessons as you can out of it while you're hating every minute of it. I figured that that's what we would do with the birth. I was like, yeah, you know what? It's going to be one of those life things. I'm going to be like down and dirty with the other mothers of the earth. And we're going to be like, yeah, let's do this. But then when they were like, "It turns out that your child would like to be scheduled," I'm like, that's my boy. Like, it was exactly right for me and so perfect.
Nice.
And like, I was like, thank you. That's correct. But
I like that. Thank you for saying that. Yay. It can be wonderful.
I have lots of friends. I have a friend who has like, I don't even know how many at this point, like 14 kids. Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah, she loves it. I don't think she
14?
hasn't been pregnant in ever. Like her
Wow.
oldest just graduated high school, but she has a brand new baby.
Oh my goodness.
It's intense, but she likes it. She's into it. Whatever, man.
Yeah, I mean, my mom had 4, so I mean that seems insane to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. But the more I like do stuff and meet different people and see their like level of being able to like juggle and stuff, I'm just like, hey, man, we're all figuring it out in our own way.
Yeah.
And if you can do it up. That's right. You want 14?
Every parent, like, I mean, amazes me. Do you know what I mean? Like, every single parent is incredible, like, in the sense that they are responsible, and, like, I'm not, sort of. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no. But no, you can't think of it that way, because it's not a before or after, like, now I suddenly understand, because that's where the trouble happens. That's when people become parents and they're like, oh, no, I'm not wise like I thought I would be. No one's wise. We're all terrible all the time, right? It's really just a matter of how to navigate our terrible. Like, it's like, how do you figure out, like everything we've been talking about, there were tough times, right? And you found a way through those tough times and still found a way to make even though there was like roadblocks to you doing comedy, to you being the person that you are, you made it there on your own terms, jumping over it, kicking that boulder off the road, whatever you had to do. And we all deal with it in our own different ways, right? It's really just a matter of how you're, trying to make it work, right? No parent is doing it right. We're all just like juggling and dropping a few balls here and there and hoping it works out.
Yes.
Like, even to bring it back to like being a performer, right? All those comedians that you listed, all the comedians that we like, they have off days. We don't hate them for it. They're not always great. They're tired a lot. Sometimes they're mean because they're tired, or because they're a human being. Like we've got to just be in the journey for our own journey, whatever thing it is. So like, don't put yourself down for not having accomplished something. You've accomplished what you've done, and your stuff is important. It's just different. And maybe your next adventure will be in the parenting realm, but maybe it won't, right? It doesn't matter. It's still, the journey is still worthy no matter what path it goes down, because there's just millions of people out there who can identify with it, whatever it might be.
Oh, yeah. Man, Amy, you've got a way with words.
Oh, man. Well, no, I just try to, part of what I really like about chatting about people's lives in this podcast is the idea of being able to reflect on stuff. And yeah, I say that I'm a Pollyanna, but I also try my best to help everybody to sort of frame the way they look at their own lives so they appreciate it the way I appreciate it when I hear the stories, when I hear stuff and I'm like, man, I can't believe you got through that. And like, oh my God, what would I have done? I don't even know. But you're telling me things that you've gone through and experiences, and like, I've never been a backup singer in a band. I want to do that. Like things like I've never done. I didn't know acapella was a thing. No joke, until the movies. Like, I didn't really know.
Oh, yeah, that's
at
right.
all.
There was a movie about Sweet Adelines. Oh, my gosh. That's so fun. I was just trying to
I
be
just
like
didn't know.
I just wanted to be like Lucille Ball.
You're very Lucille Ball, for sure. Other than the hopeful better marriage choices, other than that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, honestly, now that I mention it, my husband is a percussionist. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, I'm losing.
Oh, Wiki. Oh yeah. So, who knows? That being said, love or hate that show, whatever, the business scenario was on point.
Yeah.
Like
and
the fact that
she helped, like, Star Trek
Yeah.
produced or something? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm pretty sure the studio that they owned was the place where tons of stuff started, too.
Love it.
Like, they were, like, especially these days, and I don't mean to, like, put anyone down that's not doing great at business, because business is hard. But when I see businesses thriving and doing things right now, like, and I say right, and I mean right now, but I also mean correctly. Like when they're dealing with this and finding a way to make it work for them, but also not being super disrespectful to like the, death. I'm like, yes, you are doing it. You have found a way. And like, I appreciate that. There's something so, I don't know, the nicest way to use the word American, I guess. Like it's like.
So do you mean like you like the adaptations that the industry's made for Corona?
I mean that I like the fact that some companies have pivoted in such a way to make themselves better for people or to improve their own business given the circumstances. That this is a tough thing that we're all dealing with, and we're all going to have to find a way to pivot our lives in such a way to whatever happens next. But the fact that some of these businesses have been so like active that they've made like mid craziness pivots is like, oh yeah, that's nice. And also because who knows, there's lots of businesses out there where you're like, I don't know if that business is going to last purely out of just general life. Where's the money to buy that thing? Or like no one's doing that anymore. So of course it's going to close down. Like in Austin, there's 6 improv theaters and they've all been closed since like March or April. And so right now, everyone's kind of rallying behind their community to keep it going, for a period of time. There's tons of online shows, of course, but, how much is that working? Some of them pivoted seconds in. It was like, all of a sudden it was like, wait, there's an online show? What? Oh, wow. Okay. So it's interesting to see how businesses are affected, the way people are affected, almost like we were talking about earlier, where it was like the way we are able to pivot the way we think of our art now, because now we have the cultural landscape is different. You know what I mean? Like if the screenplay in your computer right now is a rom-com, a real basic rom-com, you're going to want to switch that up. Nobody's buying that. That movie's not being made tomorrow. Like there needs to be some grit. There needs to be something, Even your story, you were talking about the magical menstruation. I know that's not the name of it, but I'm just throwing that out there. It's kind of interesting. That's the sort of edgy and sort of open. Gimmick. Yeah, exactly. So you're using it in a good way. You've like pivoted and found, what do we need? What do they need to hear from me? And I like that. That's good.
I'm thinking about the little ladies that are coming up, the little women, if you will. I'll even go with the gender neutral spelling of women with the X instead of an E. I'll go ahead and do that.
Sure. Man, I mean, well, because you're right. I mean, it's good that you represent women in that moment, because there's a lot of shows about, not a lot, but certainly a handful of shows about what puberty's like for boys. Like, man, isn't it crazy? Did you know I had a dick? Yeah, we know.
It's like, yeah, we know, because I was also there at puberty too. Yeah, totally.
We know, God.
Like literally everywhere in my life, there's always a guy that wants to talk about his dick everywhere.
That's like half a comedy, isn't it?
Yes. You're like, man, hey, how are you? Have you seen my dick?
That should be the name of my one-woman show. Stories about my dick. But would that be insensitive? It would be. It would be insensitive. They'd be like, oh, it's a trans show. And I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's not. It was derogatory against dicks. I'm sorry.
Well, it's true. It's true. Haven't you? Okay. I'm going to be 35 pretty soon. So, AOL was a huge part of my life at one point. So like
the discs,
when I started seeing... When I started seeing the phrase big dick energy on the internet last year, I was confused. like completely. Like I was just like, oh, is that the energy that the kids are exuding these days? do you know what I mean? Like, what is this big dick energy? What? And now, the social justice warriors of the internet have deemed that big dick energy and also little dick energy, which was a thing, are now body shaming and like sort of fetishizing different types of body parts. Because, like, think about it. If we were a person with a big or a little dick, like it would suck to have that being said out loud, like. Why can't we just like not talk about people's dick size? Maybe
I'm going to respect that, but I'm going to offer an alternate point of view.
Oh, I'm here for it.
It's kind of like the dudes, they can take a couple of punches and they're gonna for a little bit before they can possibly understand what's going on. So, yeah, no, I don't feel bad. I won't be stopping saying that. I'll stop saying all sorts of other things that I've heard about. I will try to listen and change in that way, but in this one, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because they can take it in their big dick.
I think so too. And I also, I deleted my Twitter like 6 years ago just for liability reasons. I kept seeing all these stories where people were like, so-and-so's Twitter alerted his fan base to his predilection for necromancy. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a hell of a title right there. That's a crazy.
Some unforeseen like skeleton in the closet that someone finds on Twitter. So I just got rid of it.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. I don't know you, but I'm sure you don't have that kind of skeleton in the fucking closet. If a tweet has alerted your fan base to your predilection for necromancy, then feel like they knew. I feel like they knew. I feel like that was a thing that they knew, It's like every time there's a creeper where they're like, this comedian turns out to be terrible. You're like, have you looked at this photo? Like,
right.
Like 90% of the photos of this guy look like, they were taken after he was arrested. What's happening right now? These are production shots. Like, what? So I'm never really surprised. But
it's true.
I feel like we've gone on a weird tangent. Let's do one final pleasant comedy related thing, and then we'll say adios. So what is? I know we talked about your writing projects and the things that you're doing. Is there any other like thing that you're excited about right now? I know that you can't be on stage. But are there other little projects that you're doing, maybe not even comedy related, but something that you're excited about that you're working on right now?
Yeah, actually. I do host the Moth Story Slam still. I've been an employee with them for, I guess, a little over a year now. And I just had a story slam via Zoom last night. And it was so much fun. Like, just to look in all the people that were in Zoom's faces and, see their expressions when they were telling their stories. That was really fun. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. And the next one's coming up in August. So I'm looking forward to that very much. It's like back before Corona, unfortunately, there was a tornado in Nashville that destroyed the venue where our story slam took place.
Oh.
2020 has literally been the worst chaotic year. but yesterday's story slam was the first slam that's taken place since January because the tornado destroyed the venue in February and then Corona canceled all the others. So I'm glad that has picked up again. And I advertise those shows on my Instagram, which for anyone who's listening, my Instagram handle is at Makunaito. That's my last name in Japanese. I took Japanese in undergrad and my teacher transcribed my name into Japanese and it was just a really fun day and I wanted to remember that. Anyway,
awesome.
But So I have the story slam going on, and then also I'm making earrings at my house. I've been knitting for 22 years, and I'm just knitting these little heart pillows and putting them on earring hooks and selling them for $25. And it's just to add a little bit of whimsy. I'd say if you're kind of into like Harajuku style, where it's just like an eccentric pillow that's hanging from your ear, you're going to love them.
I hope that's your marketing. An eccentric pillow hanging from your ear.
It's pretty weird, but I sent a pair to my mom and they looked so cute. And I was just like, Mom, this is cutting edge. You got to wear those earrings.
I don't know anything about your mom, but I feel like she probably is not the kind of person who wears those earrings.
Well,
oh my God, that's so
maybe
funny.
she put them on just to throw me off of her trail. But when I FaceTimed her on the beach a few days ago, she was wearing them.
Oh, she loves you so much.
I hope so. I love her a lot too. I honestly, I love moms. Like there are very few moms that I don't like when I meet them. Do you know what I'm saying? I love moms. Come on.
I was like, don't let me go down the Facebook mother group rabbit hole again. I'm not doing it. It's not going to happen. You're trying to draw me out. I'm not going to do it.
It sounds pretty juicy.
Oh, it's a good time. It's a good time. I'm surprised there aren't more television shows about it. When we get our meeting with Seth Rogen, you'll pitch yours, I'll pitch mine. Let me tell you about the moms. Crazy. No, I mean, I make jokes.
Crossover. I see the moms and the suicide pact story. I mean, look, I would watch that show.
I feel like Moms with a Suicide Pact is a little too real. That's
I'm just saying, God. I would watch that show. So, okay, so you work on your pilot and I'm going to work on mine.
Oh my God. You know what? I also have another, I used to work in hotels in New York City. And so after hearing your hotel stories and my hotel stories, I was like, oh man, I'm swiping that one and putting it right in this crazy town story. Oh man, you're funny. Moms and hotels. That's what I'm writing down on my notebook right here so I don't forget these ideas. Oh man, I also like the idea for that it's both sides of the, like when you mentioned the crossover, I thought you were going to talk about the daughter who's menstruating and then the mom who has to tell her, and it's like two different shows. One's the kid figuring it out and one's the mom going to her friends like, who's got wine? I just had to talk to Louisiana about her period. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I can't believe it. I just had to discuss it with her. And they're like, what did you say? What did you say? You know, because I can guarantee in a few years, me and my friends are going to be sitting around somebody's living room going like, what did she say next? What did you tell her? What did she say? What did you give her? Tampons. You gave her tampons right away? Oh my God. Like there's no lot of that.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, my mom, I will never let her live this down. She offered. She offered to insert a tampon for me. Like when I had one of the first times when I was just like really scared about it, I was like, I don't know how it works. The illustration's kind of confusing. Aww. And she'd be like, Julie, if you want me to come in, I'll help you. I'll put it in for you. And I was like, no. Oh, like I knew that was too far, but I still appreciate that she offered, you know?
That's the other part of being a mom that's so hard, is that like you're with this little person and you want to help them. You've wiped their butt. You've made sure they don't have rashes. You make sure they don't eat the foods that give them allergies. You're so on top of them. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as something, you're like, hey, I know how to do this. Let me tell you, it's pretty all right. Don't worry about it. Oh. Then they're like, you can't talk to them about it because they're like, I don't want to talk about it. And you're like, yeah, I get it. Me neither. Oh, it's fine.
As my older sister told me, she said after having her first child, she was like, it feels like my heart is on the outside of my body walking around.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. Great. Yeah, cool. Sounds fun.
I feel like I finally found a good reason for my Boston Fury.
Oh,
Like I'm
nice.
like my mama bear
Mm-hmm.
has like given new life to the fire, because like my Boston is just my like in general being angry about stuff, which is not as fun as it seems, but now that I have a child to protect, the idea of that is what really gets me going. I'm like,
Nice,
what?
nice.
Back it up. What are you doing? Quit looking at him. Don't get over here. I'll get you. So there's
Yeah, that seems like I could get into that, because that seems to make a lot of sense. Like I could get behind that kind of motivated anger. Sounds appealing.
You know what though? Flip side. Rough flip side I'm going to give you. Rough one.
Uh-oh.
I was never the kind of person who was nervous to walk home alone late at night. I knew there was danger, but I always felt like I could handle it. But now that I have a child, I feel more vulnerable, because I can't just become crazy to this person. Like I can be, it's like with bears, you know how they say like you have to be bigger and crazier than them? That's how I've treated people on the street in general. Like when I lived in New York, I would just be the weirdest one. And then they're like, well, I'm not messing with her, you know? If anyone gets too close to me, I just start like ranting about like ridiculous things. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, don't talk to that one, you know? And that works, but it doesn't work when you have a baby.
For your
because
kid,
if you begin to rant uncontrollably, they call CPS and not go, well, I should leave that woman alone. Instead, they're like, go grab that baby, you know? So you can't, it's like a different kind of vibe. And I also can't be like, what? To anybody.
Right.
Which, by the way, is definitely how I react to a lot of things with a child. Like he's here and I have to stay sweet and gentle to him while also being like, back it up, you know? So.
Because they learn what they live, right?
Right. And I can't just be like, the right thing to do is to be combative with other adult humans. I can't do that now. I have to teach him to be kind and open and identify each situation individually and not assume that because it happened once this way, it's going to happen that way again. So that's a toughie, but.
I feel you. I really like all the insights that you've shared about being a mom. And I guess every time I meet any mom that's older than me, I'm going to be like, how old were you when you had your baby? Please tell me the story. Because I love it. It makes me feel so much better about everything, honestly.
I feel like we just found you a podcast is what needs to happen.
Hey,
it's just you talking to older moms. This is what it is.
You got a TV, a TV pitch, and I got a podcast pitch. Hey.
Oh, Melissa, it has been a joy to chat with you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. What a wacky podcast.
Thank you so much, Amy. It was my pleasure, and I hope I'll talk to you again very soon. Follow me on Instagram if you want to stay up to date on my happenings.
Oh, happenings. How exciting.
Thanks for listening to Yes But Why Podcast. Check out all our episodes on yesbutwhypodcast.com or check out all the content on our network, HC Universal, at hcuniversalnetwork.com.